Hey everyone, and welcome to This Explainer. I am absolutely thrilled you're here today. We're going to take a really close, hard look at a topic that you have probably seen literally everywhere online right now, the anti-inflammatory diet. There's just so much information out there, and honestly, a lot of it is just noise. So today, we're going to cut through all that and dive into the actual clinical data together, just to figure out what really works when it comes to eating for your health. Now, I want you to think about this for just a second. It's a super relatable question. Can what is on your plate actually soothe your joint pain? Or, ease that chronic fatigue? Millions of us are constantly looking for ways to manage those daily aches and long-term health conditions, and we keep hearing that the answer might just be sitting right there in our refrigerators. But is that actually true? Can a quick grocery run really compete with the medicine cabinet?
Well, before we even start talking about food, we've got to understand the internal villain here, which is chronic inflammation. Now, acute inflammation, that's actually good. It helps heal a paper cut or fight off a temporary bug. But chronic inflammation is a whole different beast. It's this prolonged, low-grade immune response. Think of it like this internal fire that just never really goes out. And over time, that lingering immune response can damage healthy cells and drive some of our most common chronic conditions. Everything from rheumatoid arthritis right down to heart disease and type 2 diabetes.
So, here's our roadmap for today's explainer. 1. The inflammation epidemic. 2. Foods that fight back. 3. Proven anti-inflammatory diets. 4. Does it actually work? And 5. Busting the nightshade myth. Let's get right into it.
Starting us off with Section 1, the inflammation epidemic.
There is just a really stark contrast in how our daily diets affect us. On one side, you've got the standard Western diet, which acts as a massive driver of inflammation. Studies clearly show that eating a lot of ultra-processed foods, refined carbs like white bread, processed meats, hot dogs, bacon, and sugary drinks is actively linked to higher blood levels of inflammatory markers, like C-reactive protein. But on the flip side, a protective approach looks completely different. We're talking whole foods, antioxidants, omega-3s, and lots of colorful, minimally processed produce. The daily choices we make between these two totally different ways of eating is really where the magic happens.
Moving right along to Section 2, foods that fight back.
It is honestly amazing what you can find just walking down the produce aisle. Take berries, for instance. Small, but mighty. They're absolutely packed with these antioxidants called anthocyanins, which studies show can actively lower specific inflammatory markers in your body. Then you've got broccoli, right? It's rich in sulforaphane, an antioxidant that literally decreases the molecules that drive inflammation. Avocados bring all those incredible heart-healthy fats and carotenoids to the table, and grapes are an amazing source of resveratrol, which actually helps protect the heart against inflammation. The big theme here? Eat a wide variety of brightly colored foods that are as close to their original natural form as possible.
Next up, we've got the heavy hitters in the protein and fat departments. Fatty fish, so things like salmon, mackerel, sardines, are loaded with EPA and DHA omega-3 fatty acids. Get this, your body actually metabolizes those fats into specific compounds that actively block inflammation and lower that CRP marker we talked about. And we absolutely cannot forget about extra virgin olive oil. It has this highly unique antioxidant called oleocanthal. The wild thing is, research shows its inflammation-blocking effect has actually been compared to the mechanisms of over-the-counter anti-inflammatory drugs like ibuprofen. No way, right?
All right, now let's pop open the spice cabinet. These ancient ingredients are just incredibly potent. Turmeric contains curcumin, which actively puts the brakes on inflammatory pathways. Ginger is packed with gingerols, which have actually been shown in studies to reduce pain and improve mobility for folks with osteoarthritis. Garlic brings a compound called allicin to help modulate your immune system. And cinnamon literally lowers inflammation markers. These are such simple, super flavorful things you can just toss into your daily meals to complement whatever conventional therapies you're already doing.
Oh, and here's a really fascinating trick for you. It can actually be kind of hard to get enough curcumin from turmeric alone to see a noticeable change in your body. But studies show that combining your turmeric with piperine, which is literally just the active compound found in your basic everyday black pepper, boosts the absorption of curcumin by an astounding 2,000%. 2,000. It's such a perfect example of how certain foods work together to just totally unlock their true potential.
Which brings us to Section 3, proven anti-inflammatory diets.
When we take a step back and compare three of the most highly recommended science-backed diets side by side, a pretty obvious pattern emerges. The Mediterranean diet is famous for healthy fats like olive oil, fish, nuts, and whole grains. Then there's the DASH diet, originally designed to lower blood pressure, which really limits sodium and saturated fats while pushing fruits, veggies, and low-fat dairy. And Dr. Andrew Whale's anti-inflammatory diet? Well, it's basically the Mediterranean diet, but it mixes in some Asian influences like green tea and specific spices. Notice the common thread here? Every single one of them relies on the exact same foundation, minimizing the highly processed stuff and maximizing nutrient-dense, plant-based whole foods.
So, Section 4. Does it actually work?
To get a real answer to that, we're going to look at a major systematic review and meta-analysis published in the British Medical Journal's Nutrition, Prevention and Health Journal. These researchers looked at 23 randomized controlled trials. Now, that is the absolute gold standard of clinical research, guys. It involved over 3,000 adults with chronic diseases. And what they specifically wanted to know was, does an anti-inflammatory diet actually improve a person's health-related quality of life across different types of chronic illnesses?
So, reality check time. The researchers found that these anti-inflammatory diets were associated with small improvements in the physical component scores of quality of life compared to just usual care. However, they didn't find any significant effect on mental component scores or general quality of life scores overall. And I think that's a really honest, tempered look at the data. Changing your diet absolutely yields measurable, realistic physical benefits for people with chronic disease, but it's not some overnight magic cure for your mental well-being, and it's definitely not a total replacement for medical care. It's an absolutely crucial tool in the toolbox, for sure, but it is just one piece of a much larger puzzle.
Finally, Section 5. Busting the nightshade myth.
Okay, there is a very, very understandable fear out there when it comes to nightshades. These veggies belong to a plant family that includes the toxic belladonna plant, right? And they contain this alkaloid called solanine. Because of that, a lot of folks are terrified that eating solanine is going to aggravate their arthritis pain and cause a massive flare-up. But the reality? The scientific evidence simply does not back that up. According to the Arthritis Foundation, the trace amounts of solanine in edible nightshades are perfectly safe. In fact, eating a normal amount of these veggies gives your body some incredibly powerful anti-inflammatory compounds that it really needs.
Actually, scratch the whole fear thing. It turns out these vegetables are totally packed with benefits. Eggplants are a huge staple of the Mediterranean diet, giving you fiber, potassium, and B vitamins. Tomatoes are absolutely loaded with lycopene, which is an antioxidant that actively reduces inflammation. Potatoes contain chlorogenic acids that might actually help lower high blood pressure. And bell peppers, fantastic sources of vitamins A and C. The real takeaway here is that unless you have a super specific rare food allergy, cutting nightshades out of your diet just means you are unnecessarily missing out on some fantastic health-promoting foods.
I really want to leave you with this grounded thought from the Arthritis Foundation. There is no specific diet that a person with rheumatoid arthritis should follow, but some foods can help control inflammation. I think that hits the nail on the head. There's no one-size-fits-all miracle cure out there, and there are certainly no magical overnight fixes. But being consistent with minimally processed, nutrient-dense whole foods, that gives your body its absolute best natural fighting chance to keep that chronic inflammation in check. So, my final question for you today is this. What is one single anti-inflammatory swap you can make on your plate today? Seriously, think about it. Maybe it's just adding a tiny dash of black pepper to your turmeric tea, swapping out a bag of potato chips for a handful of fresh berries, or even just cooking your veggies in some extra virgin olive oil tonight. The science proves that these small, daily choices really do add up to a significantly better quality of life over time. Thank you so much for hanging out with me on this explainer, and keep learning.